Hey everybody, I'm the Bat Otter, and today I'm going to be reviewing the fourth volume of Golden Wind. Now, Golden Wind is the only series that I'm keeping up with. I mean, I've seen the rest of Jojo. I've read about half of part 3 at this point, and I have a few scattered volumes here and there. I didn't get many of part 4 because I wasn't too interested in part 4 as a whole. But Golden Wind, on the other hand, when I noticed that it was coming out, and I had really done not very much research. That's bad grammar. I hadn't done a lot of research on the artwork of the part, and it was very difficult to get my hands on any artwork. And after having seen the anime, and learning about the influences that went into Golden Wind, and even seeing the painted pieces that Araki did for the part, I got a big interest in it, and that was exactly when it started to come out. So I decided, okay, I'm not one to collect, I'm not one to do anything like that, but I legitimately want to read the part. I want to look at the original artwork because I feel like the anime doesn't do it justice in that it's black and white, and it's Araki's big change in style, which one could argue happened in part 4. But in my opinion, it really didn't start to happen until the end and into Golden Wind that his style took that big shift, because there's still the punching ghost stands in part 4 and the larger, more muscular builds in part 4. But once you get into part 5, yeah, part 5, that's when you get really the drastic change in style. So that's why I'm collecting this. Lucky for y'all, I can review it. So to start off with, we get a piece that I have never seen before until I saw this cover of Bucciarati and Trish, and I the interplay and the rhythm, if that makes any sense, between the characters whenever Araki paints them and draws them, particularly in Golden Wind, is second to none of the other parts, except for maybe part 8, maybe part 7. But you don't see it in the other parts with the colors, the unique aspects, and the fashion that he implements. It very much illustrates the relationship between the team members, which I think is present across the part as a whole. So, yeah, I needless to say, I really like the artwork that Araki produced at this point in time. So, to start off with, we pick back up with the fight on the train, which we got a little taste of. His stand makes everybody old. And if I'm being honest, this is my favorite fight in the entire part, for reasons that we'll go over as it goes on. And so there is this can get a bit annoying for rereading, rewatching, whatever you prefer, in that with all the tricks on top of the tricks on top of the tricks, it could be very time consuming to just read and read and read and watch and watch and watch while they're like, it might be this, and it might be this, it might be this. But, you give it a little bit of time, and it works out a little bit better. Because at the end of the day, you're here for the fight, not the exposition. So they discover the gang, and we get Bucciarati fighting like Bucciarati. By the way, they shot Mista in the head 3 times, but number 5 saved him. Because of course he did. He's that fast. And we get a very interesting relationship, which you'll see throughout the part of the kind of duo, where you have a very dominant person and a more, kind of submissive person, right? We've all heard of that before. But it makes for some interesting character developments and some interesting scenes that you don't get in other parts, that you'll see later, because eventually Newman right here is going to have to make up for the life of his brother and kind of toughen up. It's hard to hold the camera and this at the same time. So Bucciarati is no longer in the turtle. He knew that they were going to come after him, and so he blitzes them, and we get the classic him coming out of a random place in a really funny angle, coming after them, and again making for some good compositions as usual. But of course they catch him because he felt the wind in his hair that the draft was created by the train, and they get into this big fight. Bucciarati is being helped out by number 6, and they're gonna go into this back and forth. He kicks his head into the side of the train, and we get, I mean, every single fight that Bucciarati's in is always something interesting because of the fact that he can just split things down the middle. And as the fight goes on, more things happen. He gets old, and it's like, haha, did you know that because you're moving, you're gonna get old faster? And he's like, oh no! So he jumps out of the moving train, and he's like, what? As did the audience. And we get something that is another recurring theme in the part. This is, I feel, this is one of the better volumes to explain the part as a whole to somebody, because you start to see the my resolve is greater than yours, the teamwork aspect, the play between the characters, and the interesting character developments that the enemies and the team experience over the course of the book. And you'll even see later in the Babyface fight, that's his actual name, right? Babyface. There are some developments there as well. So they're on the side of the train, ready to die. But this is whenever Pesci, or Newman, as I call him, gets his ability, gets his resolve, and he's like, I'm gonna save you, brother. I have the strength. You've given me the strength. And we get some more Jojo action. He punches the fishing line, knowing that the damage is going to be reflected upon the user, only so that way he can then throw him under the train, not under the bus, under the train, which is much worse, in order to save his own skin. Now, eventually, Pesci finds out that that's not his brother anymore, but he also finds out that his brother is still clinging on to dear life. Grateful Dead. It's an appropriate name for the stand. He's there. He's not very grateful for being there, but he's there. And he says, use your stand ability until you're dead. Never, ever, ever deactivate it. And don't tell somebody you're going to kill them until after you've already done it. Those are two things that are important later. That was also brought up in that movie by Tarantino, Inglourious Bastards. That was the movie that a very similar concept was brought up. There's actually a lot of Tarantino in this volume as well. So Pesci, he evolves. He's like, I am evil Pesci now. I am going to kill everybody. And it feels good. Look at his face. Just pure euphoria. This is some weird stuff. Like, it's weird, but it's also funny to watch. And you get what Araki's trying to do here, but I think the faces and how dramatic it is makes it a little bit funny, even though he just crushed somebody's neck. And he's like, oh, I love Jojo. So he is going to rip out Bucciarati's pulmonary artery. Is that the right one? From his heart. And Bucciarati decides naturally that he's going to chop himself into tiny bits. And we get this cool painting. As usual. Great painting. And Trish, of course, is in the turtle. He's trying to save the turtle. So he jumps back into the train, but this new and improved Pesci knows how to get him. So right before he gets slammed, he goes back into the train and decides to cut himself into pieces. Now, if you've watched my review on the final volume of Stardust Crusaders, you'll know this. I'm a sucker for stopping your own heart in JoJo. There's something about it. It only happens twice in the series, as far as I remember. And that is whenever Jotaro squeezes his heart, and whenever Bucciarati chops his heart in half in order to prevent the heartbeat from being detected by Pesci and Beach Boy. And there's something about that idea of stopping your own heart, having the guts to say, this could totally kill me, but I'm gonna do it because I'm that tough mentally, right? So he chops it in half. And of course, it always almost doesn't work out, right? The protagonist almost always doesn't get saved. But by some grace of fate, in this case, he does. He's like, I can outlast him, but unfortunately, whenever your heart's not beating, you can't exactly think straight or do anything, right? So he can't put it back together. But in his rage, in his folly, his pride, it cometh before the fall, he stops the train. And in doing so, Bucciarati's body parts, they slide across the seats, and they just so happen to have his heart zipped back up into one piece. And Pesci's running outside of the train to get his brother. But You hear the Jojo music start playing right now. And there it goes. You have a witness. Now, Araki likes to do this. He did it most notably in Part 3 as well. There are a lot of similarities between Part 3 and 5, I've noticed. But what you're about to see is a classic Western duel that Araki so loves to just sprinkle across his parts. He did it with Endul and Jotaro, with Iggy as the witness there. And here he's going to do it with Bucciarati and Pesci with number 5, or number 6, right? Number 6 as the witness. Now, why do I think that this is a duel inspired by Westerns? Look at the sky. There are clouds. It's a dramatic atmosphere. It's a wide open range, and you have the tool? You have the two men standing across from each other with their weapons drawn, waiting for the time to strike. And you get the setup, right? You know, that's the most important part. And you can hear the Western movie music happening as the camera pans across the dying brother, the dramatic lighting. He's like, read what he says, because I can't. I would like to show and read more dialogue in these, but my brain can't look at the camera, interpret what I'm recording, and read it at the same time. Like, that's... that makes the cogs turn too much that my brain starts to steam a little bit. So I'd love to do more dialogue. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to go over the dialogue, but I can't. I can't. I'm sure eventually I'll get better. And so he says, I can tell the timing on your stand. Look at how quick I am, though. He whips him with the fishing hook, cutting him up. And he says, glory is within you. Kill him, brother. Kill him, Pesci. And Pesci's like, yes, brother, I will kill him. I'm gonna make you pay. And you get this dramatic shot. He's gonna throw it. But Bucciarati runs. It's a twist of fate. Why are you running right towards him? Well, he's gonna hook the heart. And he does. Bucciarati's surprised by that. It's one shock after another. And, did he already do it? But in doing so, Bucciarati gets the upper hand by using the extra slack that he had on the fishing line, wrapping it around his head, and taking that 1 second of arrogance from Pesci to snap his neck and make him look like a twisted vegetable. I mean, look at that poor guy. He says, we're gangsters. We don't say I'll kill you until after the deed is done, and he's got his hands posed, all funny. And he decides to be scummy. He lets him have Trish, but he's gonna kill the turtle. And we get another pin-up shot of Trish. Again, the gestures with Trish, he doesn't do with any of the other characters. I'm telling y'all, they're good sketches. I'm just a sucker for all these sketches. I mean, except for that one. Where was I? Oh yeah, he's gonna take Trish, but then Bucciarati's like, no thanks, I'd rather you not. He goes inside the turtle. He's gonna start murdering the rest of the gang. That's pretty messed up, honestly. It's a low blow, if you tell me. And Bucciarati pulls him out of it. He's like, no. And he does the arrivederci. Derci? Great scene, by the way. I always appreciate the stand rushes in Jojo. The way that Araki is able to make all the fists and the arms and the motion at play while also showing the impact. And you get cool ideas. I mean, he launches his fist at the guy because he can separate himself. Lots of cool stuff that you can't really see anywhere else in other mediums. And he says, arrivederci. The guy's all chopped up to bits, falls onto the ground. And you get the sun behind him. The hero won the duel, right? It's great stuff. So, they leave the train. They're going to Venice. This video is going to be 20 minutes long. And we get Babyface. Skip over some parts. He takes Bucciarati's DNA from his blood, impregnates a woman, is a sexual sadist, and gives birth to a remote homing stand that he sends after the gang. The gang's here. They decide that they're going to destroy a bunch of cars so that way they can steal one. That way they don't get tracked. Trish getting kidnapped. I'm giving you all the spark notes because I don't want this video to be too long. You're not missing much, I promise. And he takes Giorno's windpipe. And Giorno's kind of bleeding on the ground. I like all the dramatic shots in this part. Oh, there was a funny part. Here. So as Giorno's throat is being cut off, and he can't breathe. The gang, they're trying to figure out what car to use, and I believe it's over here. Yeah. Giorno's literally dying. Abakio actually wants to check up on him, and Hiranche's like, oh no, he's just waving at us. I thought that was pretty funny. Giorno gets the guy out of it, and this is where Giorno learns that he can turn inanimate objects into living pieces that he can repair himself with, because the other guy does the opposite. He turns living objects into inanimate objects. And he gets up, cool fight, right? And you get into the Jojo shenanigans, right? He loses the guy because he keeps turning into a rock, and if you're a true Jojo fan, you know why this is hilarious. And, let's see. He dives for the turtle to save Bucciarati and Trish. And this was really cool. I forgot what had happened in this fight because I had only seen it once. So, as I was reading it, it was like I was reading it for the first time. He's his shadow, which I noticed the page before, that he was drawing Giorno's shadow, which he hadn't been doing in the last couple of pages. Which I thought, why is he drawing the shadow? It was a setup. It was a setup. Ain't that something? Man, the quality of... He doesn't always draw the setups, y'all know what I mean? Where sometimes it'll be like, I was here the whole time, and you go back and it's like, no, you weren't. So the fact that he actually drew the setup this time was pretty cool, because you actually catch on to it. And then whenever you realize why you caught on to it, it's like, oh, hey, that's pretty neat. So they do the Jojo back and forth. He's like, you shouldn't be touching me, because I'm actually touching you. And he turns him into a fish. And then Babyhead's like, oh my gosh, I have turtle poop on my face. This is such a terrible day. I hate you. I hate you, father. He has real bad daddy issues. Apparently he does too, because he likes getting slapped by women. You get the, are you approaching me? And he is, actually. He tries to chop Giorno into bits, but Giorno thought ahead, and in punching him with his severed arm, he actually turned the severed arm that wasn't the severed arm, but was actually the motorcycle. He severs his fake severed arm into Babyface, and in doing so, turns him into a motorcycle. And he's like, I can escape the motorcycles, but he says, well, actually, you can also burn to death with all the fuel. And he burns an infant to death. That's what Giorno does, by the way. That's what gangs do, guys. That's why you should stay in school. And we get introduced right after to Vanilla Ice. He has OCD. He really doesn't like elbow grease. He doesn't like that saying. He says, I understand someone working the fingers to the bone. That makes sense. Fingers have bones. But elbow grease, and he just really, really doesn't like elbow grease. The other guy dies because he gets killed by a snake. Giorno hired to kill him. They start going to Venice, and we get... This guy kills himself. And going to Venice, we get Mista's origin story. Now, I love this. Mista, he's a free-thinking guy. He's in that flow state 24/7. And, you know, if he'd run short on allowance, naturally he would beat up anybody who was bad-mouthing Clint Eastwood. As one does. You know, he really likes the guy. You can't bad-mouth Clint Eastwood in Italy. What are you thinking? What are you, crazy? So he clearly has his priorities straight. Some guy's beating on a woman. Mista takes him out and knees him. And this is where we get the scene from Pulp Fiction, where the guy's right in front of Mista. He's shooting at him, and he misses. So Mista loads the gun calmly. It's talking a lot about fate, establishing a lot of premises that are going to be important later for the story that I should totally be going over, but I'm not. Mista was jailed, but Bucciarati is like, that guy, this was self-defense. I'm sure of it. Fate's telling me that. So I'm going to hire him. He's going to be great. We're going to be best friends. And here we are. And we get the setup for the next fight, which is another one of my favorite fights in the series. The fight with Vanilla Ice. And White Album. That's what it's called. And I like the establishment here, right? We can go over it pretty quickly. Uh, the ice is surrounding the car. Mista's finger is missing. It's all shrouded in darkness. What finger is that? And we get a mystery man talking from the top of the vehicle with the picture of the statue that they need to retrieve the disc from. And it's all very, very fun. And he's like, it's happening so fast, I'd really rather not lose my face, but he's got this real serious look on him, like, oh, yeah, we mean business now, baby. And he's like, oh, my fingers started to bleed. And it's like, what does that mean? You'll find out next time. Yeah, so that's been Volume 4. I really enjoyed it. I don't actually enjoy the train scene as much anymore. There was a lot of talking, and there was much less talking and much more action in the fight with Babyface. Which, again, I think that's the name. It was localized in here to Babyhead, so I could be wrong. And this is a good one. Araki actually redid this one years after the fact, with something much better, I think. I like the second one better than this one, but this one is good too. I like the colors, the flowers, the way that he makes the airflow with the flowers. It's good. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, y'all notice? Bucciarati is coming out of the paper. That's what this is. Can you believe... Because I liked it anyway. But then I was like, well, why is the background white? And I'm like, of course, he's coming out of the paper. So that's really cool. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this longer video. I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed the last volume of Golden Wind, which is why the video is longer. They're going to be coming out with Rohan, Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibe, which I'm very interested in. The artwork, of course, the stories I like as well, the horror aspects as well. There's lots of things that interest me about that one. I've seen them on Netflix, but I'd love to read them as well. So whenever those come out, you'll be seeing that somewhere around that time. You're not going to be seeing very much Jojo from me anytime soon because these come out quarterly, every 3 months. Yeah, so that's pretty lame. Not sure what I'll upload next, but I do know this. I'm going to upload that Da Vinci review because guy commented, I was waiting for you, buddy. So you guys have that to look forward to. I'll probably kill my channel ratings, but it's okay. I enjoy it. Yeah, so like, subscribe, comment. That's all.